Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining our podcast today. The idea that or the things we're going to talk about today are awakening and enlightenment. These ideas are not really well understood by a lot of folks, and I think it's important to add clarity around them, especially as you're moving out of the early stages of your practice into more advanced practice of meditation. And it's just good general knowledge to have if you're a seeker. So when we speak about enlightenment, we're really talking about an awakening to that has led to a spiritual truth and later on self-realization. These are noetic experiences or knowing experiences that lead to a direct connection or a communion or a non-dual merging with an unlimited and universal consciousness, the divine or God in perceived oneness that we are enlightened. So um, it depends on how you define your God or the divine consciousness, but anyway is fine. It's just that you have a connection to it and learn to experience it in a way that you know, only you know. You can explain it to anybody else as long as you like. They'll never get it, but you know in your soul at your being level that you've received information that is unique and divine in nature. So, simply put, we can know enlightenment or what it is once we are awakened, or understand that and awakening is really just understanding that there's just one large field of awareness or consciousness that all things arise in. And we are part of that field. We're part of that common consciousness or awareness. We're a small piece of it. And the universe, for example, is a very large piece of it. And we become enlightened through our subjective experiences, normally through meditation, but other ways. And we'll talk about that as we move on here. And those other ways lead to our direct knowing. That's where we become informed at the being level that there's a truth here that is that resonates with us, and we know it for what it is. That's part of enlightenment. That is enlightenment. So this is what we'll explore here and hopefully shed light on for you. Okay, it's likely you've heard these words before, or one similar to them, from the Jesuit Catholic priest and scientist Pierre Desjardins. You're not a human being in search of a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being immersed in a human experience. My guess is that wisdom was imparted by this expression was the result of one of two types of visions. One definition of a vision is something perceived in a dream or trance state or meditation with a supernatural appearance that usually conveys a revelation or results in a spiritual experience. Visions can also appear in lucid dreams and other manifestations of consciousness, such as a paranormal experience. They are often spiritual in nature and can be life-changing and profound in their teachings. Consider best-selling author Daniel Brinkley's near-death experience that he talks about in several books, I believe. He was struck by lightning while on the telephone during a thunderstorm. While clinically dead for over 20 minutes, Brinkley had an extraordinary experience. He relates that his consciousness traveled through a tunnel where he encountered a spiritual being of light and underwent grueling and humbling replay of his entire life. see not only from his own perspective, but through the eyes of everyone he encountered. This vision type takes time to process, and it often changes people at their core being. So Danyan had quite a profound experience. And this is what happens with these types of this first type of vision experience that I'm talking about, or this, and we'll talk about the other kind here in just a moment. But I also call both of these experiences peak meditation experiences because they happen often while we're in meditation. I've had numbers of these vision type experiences, again, that I'm calling peak meditation experiences, and have written a book around that. And they're profound and they're moving. I can attest to that as well. There are two types of visions, as I mentioned in the last slide, based on my personal experience of having had dozens of these over the years. And the types I've just described are outside of our material world experience. The first type, I should say, is outside of our material world of experience, like Brinkley had, where he had a near-death experience. And then the second type are epiphanies of understanding. And they result from self-inquiry into one's own life experiences, or study of spiritual doctrines of one type or another over years or even decades, that reveal a much greater understanding of a spiritual world to us that eventually forms in our consciousness, and we know it. We understand that's the way it is. So that world exists, and the non-physical world we pay little attention to, but it exists. And I can give you some examples of that: our dream state and deep sleep state, and of course meditation, and there are other categories of our consciousness being at different states that we'll also get into. Both have the potential, both of these vision types have the potential to change our life and worldview and restructure our experience of conscious reality, both in the physical and non-physical worlds. And yes, I said that we have non-physical life that most of us pay almost no attention to, and that I'm going to reiterate this. That state, the non-physical conscious reality, exists in the dream state and deep sleep, and within daydreams and meditation, and again, other things. Enlightenment is an ongoing process. It's not a destination. It's a verb, not a noun. The greater consciousness field in each of us is a single unit of that consciousness. When I say single unit, we're in form as a human being. So we've taken up an identity to play a role in a larger virtual reality. And so I say that when we're in human form, we're in a simulation in a larger virtual reality, which is the universe. So together, though, we're creating this virtual reality or simulation that presents reality to us on the theater screen of our minds. And that theater screen is forever changing, and you know that, because from one thought to the next, you have a different picture in your mind's eye. And so nothing is permanent. That's the point I'm making, except for pure awareness, the pure consciousness that we are is our true underlying nature. It's always there, even in deep sleep when there's nothing on your mind, even in deep meditation when you're advised or admonished to clear your mind of all thoughts. What we're really trying to get to is that non-physical conscious reality state where we're just experiencing who we truly are. We're pure awareness and consciousness. And there's no end to consciousness. It's eternal. And we are eternal as a result of that because that's our true nature. Yes, we have a body and mind that we experience in this physical conscious reality, but the non-physical conscious reality that we are travels on after the death of this body. So it has many things to teach us, and I went through that really just to say to you that I know people in cultures believe in reincarnation and so forth. So I'm trying to make a larger connection with the idea of these two realities for you. I thought it might be fun to give you some ideas about what different states of awakening. There's a lot of people who are in the thrust of awakening and really haven't paid any attention to it or don't understand that. And normally these are people that have an active meditation practice or pursue some kind of other spiritual seeking. So if you answer yes to some of these, you may be on your way now. Let's talk about the first one, increased empathy and intuition. If you find yourself listening less to what people have to say and are more attuned to feeling their or discovering their intention behind their words or actions, this may be a change in you that gives you insight into greater truth. You emphasize with what people are feeling instead of just acknowledging it at the intellectual or the level. And that makes you, again, more empathetic, and people recognize that. They respond back to you when you become a better listener and express less opinions about what they should do and those kinds of things. So that's a natural evolution that we see toward enlightenment. You feel drawn to nature, so we may get distracted when we're just walking outside around and looking at flowers and birds or the sky. But you begin to feel the magnificence of it all, its beauty and grandeur, and how it creates a serenity within you and gives you a spiritual uplifting. There are times in our lives when we're busy with all the things that we have to do in the physical conscious reality to survive. You know, make a living, pay the mortgage, and all of those things. But every once in a while, we have an epiphany. We're able to be in nature and see it for what it is, the grandeur of it all. Who created this? How did they make it so beautiful? No one has answers to those questions, but we certainly can drink it in and let it flow through our own consciousness to uplift us. You begin to avoid negative people or negative behaviors in folks, and that's kind of another normal evolution of our consciousness. You find yourself less interested in gossip and pettiness, and you're coming to understand that judgment of others is really impossible. We can never fully know or understand the experiences of others and their feelings and lessons of another's life. And often other people are kind of masking their true feelings or their true experiences because they want to tell a better story than might actually be there. But we can barely know the lessons of our own lives, let alone presume to understand someone else well enough to judge them. So I think we find the essence of this point is that judgment is we just suspend judgment. We stop doing that. We either empathize with the soul or we don't. So the news about today's latest catastrophe on TV or the internet may be important, but you're learning this too is really not that important. It's certainly not important, and it's disturbing to maintaining your peaceful equilibrium. So that's another hallmark of awakening. And a desire for a united community, you seem more drained by the us versus them arguments, energies, and consciousness being displayed in politics, for example. But it also shows up in sports and nationalism and of course, age-old racial division and racist attitudes that we seem to be overcoming. We accept everyone for who they are, what they are, and the beauty of their soul, not how they are in the physical world. You're coming to understand the I win, you lose competitive strategy that really is a cornerstone of sometimes of capitalism. It doesn't have to be, and I was an entrepreneur for 45 years, so I know you can operate on a different basis rather than to try and go out and put your competitor out of business so that you can have greater market share. There are strategies when everyone wins, and that's the beauty and cooperation that we could bring to this world if we raise up to a new paradigm. In other words, we adopt the idea of a win-win strategy for everyone. So creating strategies where we all participate in the wealth and knowledge and pride of cooperation, and it's far more satisfying. It just is, it's more satisfying than making a lot of money creating a strategy where you've, like I said earlier, you force your competitor out of business. Okay, I'm going to give you some more to add to your list of awakening. Feeling and believing that all life is sacred. We value life, and we might begin to see ourselves taking that bug that's walking across the living room floor and putting it in a cup and releasing it outside rather than squashing it. And you're horrified about how animals are treated, for example, by the food industry, and how they're slaughtered inhumanely, and how they're even raised inhumanely, whether it's chickens or cows or sheep or other animals. It's you find it offensive and hurtful and sad, really sad, because all animals have consciousness, and you know that. They're just like us, especially pet lovers know that. You find that you begin to have this new relationship with animals of all types, domesticated and wild. And they sense, by the way, your elevated value of all things alive and consciousness, regardless of what form they take. And I've had many experiences of this. I won't go into them, but it gets to be pretty fascinating. There's gurus in India who can go pick up a cobra who's ready to strike just by allowing themselves to be on a level with the cobra and letting it know it's not harmful. It's there. They are there to help and to resolve a problem. And so there's lots of that kind of evidence. You begin to feel your consciousness renewing, or is renewed. You begin to look back on your own life memories as only opinions of your experiences versus a concrete reality. As you grow, as you're getting wisdom, you're growing wiser. You realize that your entire life experiences can be thought of differently based on the consciousness you're evolving. I guess you might say your life experiences, if we're living in the moment and paying attention and thinking about them, are evolving our consciousness. So, we're going to look back at an experience maybe 10 years ago and when we were much younger and see that we could have handled that differently or better. But nonetheless, it's teaching us something. All experiences are worthwhile. They teach us how to evolve. And I can tell you, having lived multiple decades now, that you will continue to look back on your experiences. I look back to childhood experiences, and even at my age now, I have a different take on what those experiences meant than I did when I was in my 20s or 30s. So you don't feel, superior because of this new evolving knowledge. You feel grateful. You're um, you're you're evolving at your being level. So, and this leads to living in the moment. We're less interested in asking ourselves questions or what if questions. What if this person had never left me, or what if my parents had given me a better childhood? Hey, hopefully your parents gave you the best childhood they could, and things like that, and you can come to that understanding. Some are not so great. We know that. But you also grasp there's a bigger truth by revisiting those what if questions I mentioned earlier. Those what if questions are now self-inquiry questions that you can ask during your meditations. What did I learn from that experience? And these new answers become your new truth, an evolving truth. And this opens you to begin to focus all of your attention on what is happening in the moment, not trying to multitask your way through the entire day. You're making memories that you can examine for their lessons at any time. You'll be able to come back to these in the future and extract even more truth from them. When you're in the moment, you feel wiser, you're better informed, and you have a greater clarity. So I advise you to begin to think in terms of what's just happening before you. What's before me right now? Focus on that. Our bodies and minds are memory generation machines. That's what they are. Our consciousness is a repository for all of our wisdom, the things that we'll think about and evaluate. And they become, once we fully live this life and understand the wisdom from those experiences, they become part of our soul. Okay, we're coming to an end, but I've got a few more here I wanted to share with you. The list could be much longer, I suppose, but these are plenty to think about for today. Increased inner peace is another sign of evolving or awakening. You don't mind quiet time or time alone. In fact, you kind of look forward to it, finding time for yourself in the day. You tend to shut off the TV and social media. You participate less in that, or your meditation practice becomes ever more important to you. Or you like to take that long walk in the morning or afternoon or whenever you can, because you're finding that you're pretty good company for yourself, and you like what you're learning, and you're able to think through things, and you're finding these new truths we were talking about in the last slide. When you have that time alone, compassion and positivity surges through you, rather than wanting for ill will for another person who may have intentionally harmed you, for example. In some way, you hope they discover what you're discovering, that in reality, we're all connected. At some point, if you haven't already, you'll be able to forgive that person. And you really only want the best for them and for every every individual, everything of consciousness. Enhanced authenticity, and you need less attention in crowds or public situations or around others, rather than be the life of the party. There's nothing wrong with that. I know some awakened people or enlightened people who are pretty humorous and can entertain a group at a small party. Just because people are attracted to them, they're attracted to their kindness to begin with, and then surprised by humor and their sharp wits and so forth. So you may enjoy doing that, but not from the perspective of being the center of attention, from the perspective of creating a moment of lightness for other souls that are here to experience life. And life can be fun. It should be fun. It's made that way. So think of it in those terms. So you're content to watch and assist others and see them or help them find their own truth and beauty of their existence. Or you can look for practical ways to be of service, volunteering with some organization, or I teach in my books and some of my writings just to foster love throughout the day in small encounters with others, especially strangers. I mean, you can be in the grocery store and just say, observe something about the person and say something kind to them, and do it with a smile and with gratitude. Uh, People connect on a conscious level with another person um, who is exuding warmth and even love in a very nice way. And this lifts you up and it lifts them up. And in a small way, it creates a blessing of love and prayer for others. So, okay. Okay, evolving toward awakening does have costs. There is going to be a change involved in you. You may lose some friends that you've grown beyond, or they just don't understand what's happened, and you can't explain it to them, and they're left out of the loop. So that's what happens in the process in this process. Your loved ones will see a change in you, and usually they love you enough to accept those changes. And in the best case, they really like the new you. You remove attachments to things in your life that no longer serve you, and you replace them with the idea that you know nothing. Really, the universe is so large and expansive, and consciousness and all that's ever been, is now, and potentially ever will be is so expansive. We're not even a dust mote in the bin of history of consciousness. So um, we know nothing, and we're here to live life on life's terms. This is what we're going to do, and what we should do, and what we are doing. Your reality will undergo some profound changes that you may second guess, but if you go back to self-inquiry in your practice, you'll realize whatever truth you're second guessing is authentic, and maybe it's even evolving, and that revisit with the self-realization meditation will remove that doubt from you. Sometimes it can be hard, but stay with it. You'll know once you get to this stage, you know what to do. You're moving from life happening to you to life happening for you. Understanding that things happen, you do not always understand in the moment, but that you eventually will. Not always. I mean, there's things we can know, things we don't know, and things that cannot be known. And sometimes there's things we cannot be known and may never know. But we have quite a few of those things we can know before us. So you've surrendered yourself to a higher destiny and a higher way to be. Yeah, enlightenment is a unique experience for each of us. There's no two people that it lands the same way with. Our experience of awakening and beyond to enlightenment is a journey for us. You can't, and it's individual. You cannot read about it and become awakened and enlightened. It's a path that generally evolves through regular meditation practices and employing self-inquiry techniques, but not always. Exceptions may be a spontaneous spiritual experience, like Mr. Brinkley's we talked about at the beginning slide. Near-death experiences, episodes of pain or suffering, or other profound experiences. I had about a 5-year dark night of the soul that absolutely devastated me and sent me into a few years of retreat, if you will. I left everything and had to figure out what happened to me, and it was painful and absolutely devastating, the things that happened to me. And it wasn't just one thing, it was a series of actually 11 things over a 60-month period that just put me to my knees. I ultimately assumed or understood it to be an experience in my life that was to bring me to awakening and enlightenment. And so I've always thought of it as a pre-planned experience I put in my life. It makes it a little more understandable for me. But we all have those things, perhaps not as profound. So those who study spiritual texts of any theology and practice religion can also come to awakening through a path of knowledge and prayer. So not just learning something in a book, but actually experiencing and that happens in other practices or other religions. Okay, I'm fond of reciting quotes, and I call these quotes to ponder. And I picked a few out, actually quite a few, and so many that I had to put them on 2 slides. So I'll go through them. They're all self-explanatory and give you something to noodle on. Um, so it isn't until you come to a spiritual understanding of who you are, not necessarily a religious feeling, but deep down, that spirit within would that you can begin to take control. Oprah Winfrey. You must grow from the inside out. None can teach you. None can make you spiritual. There is no other teacher but your own soul. Swami Vivekananda. We are all equally capable of spiritual awakening. Victor Shamas. All the powers in the universe are already ours. It is we who have to put our hands before our eyes and cry that it is dark. Swami Vivekananda. Awakening is not changing who you are, but discarding who you're not. Deepak Chopra. I think a spiritual journey is not much of a journey of discovery. It's a journey of recovery. It's a journey of uncovering your own inner nature. It's already there. Billy Corgan. Here's a few more quotes. Maybe you want to read them along with me. He who is free in the body but bound in the soul is a slave. But on the contrary, he who is bound in the body but free in the soul is truly free. Epictetus. Upon awakening, let the words "thank you" flow from your lips, for this will remind you to begin your day with gratitude and compassion. Wayne Dyer. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung. There are only two ways to be in life. One is though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. Albert Einstein. Thousands of candles can be lighted from one single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. The Buddha. You can read the last one for yourselves, where I tell you that we're going to move on here, and I'm going to, it's time for us to end this meditation. I have one brief slide that follows. I just want to take a moment and express my gratitude for you joining with me today, and all the others, and all the other YouTubes and podcasts that I do. It's extremely gratifying work, and I enjoy every moment of it. So my website is peakmeditationexperiences.com, and I say Peak Meditation Experiences plural.com. And of course, I'm an author, an entrepreneur, and a meditation and life coach and consciousness researcher. That's what I do. You can join our community where we'll do workshops and offer newsletter and more. And you can do that on our site just by coming, and you'll find where to sign in. It's real easy, just name and website. And there's more content on my library. In fact, most of my content is in the PME library in the form of videos and blogs and guided meditation and courses and other things. So if you like what you're hearing, you may enjoy visiting that part of our website. If you have a question, there's a place on the website. You just click and send me an email. Actually, my email is right here, frank@peakmeditationexperiences.com. And I try and answer all my emails within 24 to 48 hours. So if you have a question that you're struggling with or that you need some help with, send it to me and I'll get an answer back to you quickly. And you can buy my book. The Road to Peak Meditation Experiences is on sale everywhere. Just Google it, and there's probably 30 or 40 locations, like I think Apple and Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Several of them have the book. And you can also book a free 30-minute consultation with me. I have a scheduling button on my website. So by scheduling an appointment, it takes you to a site. It takes you to a scheduling page, actually. And you just pick out a time and a day that works for you and block it out. And I'll be there. I'll send you a confirmation and then give you a call. So again, thanks so much for joining us. I look forward to our next get together.